for the past 5 years since we relocated, my sons have been able to walk out of the door, no matter the time and the day, without me having the fear. The fear that they're going to be pulled over by the cops, the fear that they may not come home. 5 years ago, we moved from Frisco, Texas to the beautiful Gambia. And today I want to talk to you about what nobody warned me about that I wish they had, what we lost by moving to the Gambia, and also what we gain, and whether or not this is a decision that I will make again, knowing everything I know now. So grab your tea, child. Sit down, let's talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 things that no one really warned me about when we're talking about relocating. That caught me off guard. The first thing was how difficult it would be for my kids to actually make friends. Naively, I felt, it's kids. They're going to make friends. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. My oldest son, who is now 18 or about to be 18, and it was super easy for him because he's an extrovert. And so finding friends for him is nothing. Within a matter of a week, he already had friends. But my younger 2 are the ones that really struggle with finding friends. And I think part of it too is you're moving to a new place. You don't have the same things in common. One of the things that my middle son says all the time is that the one common thread on the continent, in the Gambia specifically, that helps with making friends is soccer. And he's not a soccer player. My oldest also mentioned that to us, that when he would go and play soccer, he would suck so bad and people would make fun of him. But he doesn't care nothing about it. But for my middle son, who is introverted, and my youngest, that has been a challenge for them to really make friends here on the continent. I'll also say that one of the ways that people make friends easily is through school. Because my boys are homeschooled, they don't have that, right? And so being more intentional and trying to figure out how to have them build real connection that are not just virtual connection, meaning not just with their cousins abroad, but them having roots and friends here is something that I wish we had thought about a little bit more when we decided to relocate. The second thing that was more challenging that I ever thought about was finding the right school. So I just assumed that I would just come in, find the right school for the kids. I'm originally from Cameroon, and so I applied the same mindset that, hey, we'll just come in. I'm sure there are 5, 10, 15 schools for us to pick from, and that will be easy. I have to tell you guys that hasn't been easy for me, and maybe I didn't look well enough or something. But when we moved, we came in January, so it was already halfway through the school year. It was a pandemic, so there was all that stuff. But when I started looking at different schools, I didn't like what I saw. I didn't like the options that I saw at the time. There's been new schools that have opened up. And so we are reconsidering taking the younger 2 into schools, and there are more options than there were when we first moved. But I didn't realize how challenging it would be to find the right schools and having a lot of options to pick from. One of the schools that we had looked at that I like, because for me, when I'm looking at a school, I'm not just looking at curriculum. I feel like you can get curriculum from anywhere. So what I'm looking for when I'm looking at a school is beyond the curriculum. I want to know what are the belief system behind the school. I want to know, are we Pan-Africans? I want to know about the teachers. I want to know about the environment. I want to know a lot. And there was a school that I liked because the person that had the school was really thinking outside the box, included a lot of extracurricular activities. I really liked it. But my husband, when he visited, was like, this is not for 14-year-old kids, right? Like when you look at it, the chairs, you can clearly tell that these are for young kids. And although they're advertising that they can take a middle schooler and high schooler, my husband wasn't impressed. He wasn't impressed with the hygiene, how clean the place was. And he was like, listen, it's those little things that go a long way. If you can't take care of the environment, how are you going to take care of the mind of our kids? So it's been a challenge, I would say, to find the right school. And I underestimated what it would take and require. Activities. Ciao. So coming from Frisco, Texas, where there are so many activities, so many free activities, library, parks, you name it, there's so many things that you can do. Texas is very a family-friendly state. And so, and before that we were in Maryland, but I found that Texas, even more than Maryland, had so many activities for kids. When I talk about park, I'm talking about state-of-the-art park that your children could attend, go outdoor swimming, pool, and there's so much you could do. Free and paid. And then to move here, and it's like, so beside going to the beach, what are the kids going to do? Can they do martial art? Can they go bowling? Can they go to the movies? Are there any organized sport? Coding, maybe somebody? I couldn't find anything. So we had to really figure out, and currently still have to figure out and create these activities for the children. So that is a big frustration that I have. And I don't know if it's just a Gambia thing. I would say that when I was a kid growing up in Cameroon, I was into ballet. My brothers were into martial arts. So there were things, not nearly as much as the US for sure, but there were activities. And I find that that's something that we have room to expand or grow here in the Gambia. But what are the kids doing? What are we going to do besides, like I said, going to the beach? There are a few arcades where you can go and play games. So I'm trying to get them off device. Is there a chess club? Is there a photography club? So maybe it means that we got to create these things, but right now it's lacking. I'm glad to see that there are a lot of summer camps. I say a lot, 4 or 5 summer camps that I've seen that have activities built in like tennis, but those are 2 to 3 weeks long, right? And they're not cheap. The most of the summer camps that I've seen are $3,000 a week. So do the maths, and most of them are a month long. I'm talking year long. It would be great to have activities like that all year long, extracurricular or after school. I've been told that there is a club, I think it's called the Fajara Club, where you can pay a membership and they have swimming and they have tennis and things like that. But even with that, there's no organized, hey, from 7 to 8, you're going to see group tennis classes for kids the age 5 to 7. There is a summer, so we have found a summer club like QCD, for example, where you can have your kids learn how to play soccer. But like I said, it's not a lot. It's not a lot, and it's lacking, and that has been one big challenge. Let's talk a little bit too about what was lost, right? In the move and the transition, what I feel like my kids lost. They're lost on connection when it comes to family, right? We miss birthdays and graduations and homecoming. And my son didn't have prom. So we miss on these big milestones that are typical of children that live abroad, but also typical of children that just live around family. And because we don't live around family, they've really missed on connection when it comes to those big milestones moments. My son used to tell me when we first moved that he felt like he was watching his life, right? Like he would go on Snapchat and watch his friends go to homecoming. Like he felt that should have been my life, and I'm watching people live my life. Those are my friends, and I should be in the picture, but I'm watching the picture. And that, yeah, they missed on those things. Now, what did I gain? And would I do it again? What was gained by moving? So one of the things that I say that I was fine with the US, right? I'm somebody who likes order. I'm pretty black and white. Life has put me in the center and gray now, but I was pretty black and white, and I really enjoyed how organized the US was in that way. And if I didn't have children, I'm not sure that I would have relocated, to be quite honest with you. There was nothing that was a problem for me personally when it came to living in the US. A big reason why we decided to relocate was for our kids. And so by the time we were relocating from Texas, my son was 11 years old, going on 12. And this was after George Floyd, and the realization that, wait a minute, what kind of life do I want my kids to have? Not that I'm afraid that he would necessarily be pulled over, which he might, you never know. That wasn't necessarily the number one fear, but the apprehension for me was, what kind of environment do I want my children to grow in? Do I want them to grow in a place where every time they're at the park alone, like when my 11-year-old will be at the park alone, I'll be like, be careful. Tell me where you are. Here's your cell phone. If anything goes down. Like, I had to have this whole conversation with him. And I was preparing to have the conversation with him around, like, if you're in a car and they pull you over, all the things. And I was like, that's not the childhood I had. Growing up in Cameroon, that's not the childhood I had. Those were not the worries I had as a 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kid. I wasn't walking around the world saying, oh my God, that's the police. How do I behave? What should I say? What's the right move? That was never a concern of mine. I was a 14-year-old trying to figure out what happened to my boyfriend, trying to figure out what pastry I'm going to eat, I was just living life. And I realized that's what I wanted for my kids, right? I wanted them to be able to be kids. I wanted them to be able to walk around. And that is the reason why I decided to move, and why my husband and I decided to even ultimately move and pack up our whole life. In terms of what they gain that freedom. Well, I gained peace of mind. Let me just tell you straight up. I gained peace of mind, and they gained a mom that wasn't constantly worried and scared and afraid. They gained time with me and dad, because one of the things that we were able to get when we moved was help. That wouldn't have been my reality if I was in the US. In the US, I'm the chef, I'm the tutor, I'm the cleaner, I'm the soccer practice mom, I'm the driver, I'm all these different things, which then robs me or them of my ability to then be mom. Mom is, yeah, it's a mom who is doing all these things, but a relaxed mom, a mom who is able to be like, let's read a book, let's go for a walk. How was your day? Like, I feel like moving has allowed me to be a more present mother. So they've gained parents that are not as stressed and worried and anxious. They've gained freedom to be able to go to the shop. My oldest will go to the shop. When I tell you, we had a quad bike, he will ride that quad bike at 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. He will go to concert, come back at 2 in the morning. And we were like, just call us when you're back. Without the extra worry. Obviously, you have the normal concern that a parent will have, but without the extra worry of what the police will do, or him being targeted, or him walking in a neighborhood at 2 a.m. and people decide, like, that's not your neighborhood. Do you live here? You shouldn't live here. All the craziness. So the kids got that as well. I'll also say confidence. Confidence in who they are and their identity. I love hearing, I was talking to my youngest son, and because he started learning soccer, I was like, when you get really, really good, you might play for the Gambian team. And he was like, yeah, I could play for the Gambian team, but I think I can also play for the Cameroon team and crush it. Like, how proud he is to be African. That warms my heart, y'all. You don't even understand. But confidence in their identity, in who they are, in their culture, in their heritage, they've gained that. And I am so happy about that. So let me also say that with all the things that they've gained, this year has probably been the hardest year for us, right, with the kids. In terms of like, my oldest was getting ready to leave home. And for every parent, you understand that it changes the dynamic of the house. And my son, Ethan, is such a presence and such a big brother and such a covering. He's been such a covering for his brothers, like in terms of, we didn't even really think about the social aspect, because he was the social butterfly that brought people over. And so his brother has benefited so much from that. And so him moving to go to college has been challenging, has made us really look at my middle son and my youngest son saying, well, now that Ethan can take you all to the mall, let's look at the skill set. Can y'all take yourself to the mall? Can y'all, like, it has really opened it up, and having me for the first time, like I said, really consider not homeschooling and sending them to school. Still something I'm pondering about, thinking through. Again, I think if I was in a place where there were more social activities, I wouldn't even consider it. Like, we'll homeschool, and then they're part of all these groups and clubs and activities and can make friends and all the things. And so for that reason, it's been an interesting thing to realize, okay, a lot of my two youngest social connections have been very much their cousins that are abroad. But in terms of locally, a lot of their friends were actually their older brother friends. And so that has been a thing that has been on my mind, my husband and I. And for that reason, I would say that transition, just as a family, having Ethan go and traveling and be about his business and in college, has really rocked our world. And having him being far, because I think that's the other thing. If he were in the US and he went to college, he'll be in college maybe 30 minutes an hour. Even if he was out of state, we're still in the country. So not being in the same country with our college-age student has had its challenges a lot, really. I think the only thing that makes me feel okay is that was the same transition I did. I moved when I was 16 years old. He's 17 and a half, older than I was. And I moved to a place where I didn't have my parents. But I got to tell you, for the type of close-knit family we are and how involved we like to be in our kids' life, that has been a factor, a thing that I don't think I prepare myself. Like, okay, what happened when they go away and they're not going to school in the same country? How do you how does that transition works? So the question becomes, would I do this again? Would I advise my friend to pack up their lives, leave everything behind, everybody they know, and move to the continent? The answer is absolutely yes. Heck yes. I think one of my regrets is that we didn't move sooner. With everything I've said, it is an absolute yes. It is an absolute yes. I think that there are a lot of places you can raise your kids, but I find that raising them on the continent has been such a gift. When I hear Ethan, and I always say we don't get our report card now as parents. I say you get the first report card maybe when your kid is 30, and then maybe in the 50s when you see them 30, and hopefully if they're married, you see them as spouse. It tells you a lot about what you've done. And then when you see them as parents, that's another report card. And when you see them figuring out middle life crisis, if you're blessed enough to be there, that tells you another report card. So it is very early for any report card in terms of, was this experiment worth it or not? We won't know. But from where I'm seated now, I am grateful that we did that. Would I do it again? Absolutely, I would do it again, if for nothing, for the type of mother I've been able to become as a result of being able to be on the continent. So if you're ready to see what life would look like for you and your family on the continent, we'll have the details in the description. Make sure you apply. I'm taking a few women through the process, the day-to-day life of relocating, and also helping them stop hiding in plain sight, because in the past 7 years, 8 years now of coaching women, what I've found is that so many people are hiding in plain sight, and they know that they've outgrown the life they're currently in. They know that they can do more and be more, but somehow they can't figure out what that blueprint, what the steps are for them to be able to stand in their own power. So in November here in the Gambia, I'm hosting 6 women, and I'm going to show them around, and we're going to walk through the mindset that I've helped women all over the world be able to crack, so they can crack the code on who they are, what they are called to be, and how to stand in that power fully, with the backdrop, obviously, of the beautiful, beautiful Gambia. All right, applications are below. And let me know what you thought of this video. What other questions do you have about relocating to the continent? I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, and thank you for watching.